first presenter. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Amico. I'm the Vice President of the Education Committee for Buffalo Niagara Sales and Marketing Executives. Thank you to our students who are attending today, and thank you to Carl and Adam being our first presenters for this great program that we hope will really provide you the information that you're looking for, create connections that will be able to benefit you in your career moving forward. So this is Networking 101, how to find your people, make new connections, and of course, overcome that social anxiety that we all feel. Carl Montante is the founder, the Art of Successful Networking and Terzo Development Company. He's the CEO. And then Adam, how do you say your last name again? I don't want to butcher it.
It's Guglielmi, but you can say it however you want.
Guglielmi. Okay,
G,
love it. Too many people call me Lindsay Amico, so I have to ask. Client Relationship Manager, FOS of CannonDesign. So thank you guys, and I'll let you take it away. The presentation will be approximately a half hour. I can step in at 11:30 if you want me to, and then we can always open up for Q&A.
All right, very good, guys. Well, thank you very much for having us, and thanks, Carl and Lindsay and Jean, for your partnership. As always, BNSME is a really great place to come for continuing education and experts and people in the field that have a lot of experience with these things. So Carl is a great resource for anybody that's here. I've just been able, especially through BNSME, to have a lot of really good networking experiences, and so we're going to just share some best practices with you guys today and see where you can take things. Carl, anything to add at this point?
No, I would just like to applaud you both for being here. You'll see in the presentation, but I attribute networking to a lot of my current success. Not that it's, a very successful, but relationships matter. And they make a big difference in not only your professional life, but your personal life as well. So again, I applaud you guys for being here. I hope you learned something. Adam and I are excited to teach you a little bit about networking.
So we're going to get into things here, folks, and what we're going to do just a little bit on who we are here. So I am a graduate of Canisius College. Got my bachelor's degree in 2006, my MBA in marketing in 2010. The last 6 years before my new position at CannonDesign, I was the membership director of Construction Exchange of Buffalo and Western New York, the largest trade association in Western New York and New York State. A lot of events, a lot of networking opportunities through Construction Exchange and our 940 member companies that we had. So a lot of really good experiences with that. Then, of course, for 4 months, I've been at Facility Optimization Solutions of CannonDesign. So slightly different crowd, but networking still extremely important. So that's a little bit about me. Carl, you can tell us about your work.
Absolutely. So as you can see there, my name is Carl Montante. I grew up here in Buffalo, went to Canisius High School, graduated in 2012, ended up moving down to Xavier University in Cincinnati, graduated 2016, worked in real estate development for a bit down there, moved out to Colorado to get my master's. And then when COVID hit, I did what I think a lot of people did, moved home. But I was crazy enough to start a couple businesses during the pandemic. So started a real estate development company called Terzo Development, started this executive coaching and consulting business called the Art of Successful Networking. And more recently, actually just about 6-8 weeks ago, took a job with AGR, Advantage Global Resources. And, again, speaking of networking, right, my boss, I've known him since I was a freshman in college, and I met him through my high school history teacher. So again, you'll never know where your connections are going to take you. You'll never know where your relationships will take you in your careers and your personal lives. So again, the earlier that you can develop this skill of quote unquote networking, right, the better you'll be in your career. So yeah, let's get to it.
So Carl, really interesting, and this is fun for some of the attendees here. You mentioned freshman year of college. At CannonDesign here, I am 2 desks over from my roommate in freshman year of college at Canisius.
No way.
He went the construction architecture route. I went the sales and marketing route, and now 20 years later, we are now working side by side at the same company. So if it goes to show you what connections and networking does, those are good examples.
Adam, I legitimately have the goosebumps. I mean, it's crazy what, connections, relationships, friendships, that you build and create when you're 5, 10, 15, 20 years old, what they can do for you 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So, yeah, it truly is a smaller world than you think. And Adam, clearly you're showing that right now.
Yeah. So very, very blessed in having some of these connections that we do. And part of that, of course, you think about what networking is to the common person that's out there, and sometimes people are really good networking go-getters. They're naturally good at networking. Others are a little bit more on the shy side, or even to the point where they completely say, I'm not going to a networking event. That's not something that I do. But when people think about this, what do they think about when they think networking? They think of maybe job fairs, conventions, conferences, the general idea of a networking event, going to mix and mingle, and really getting in, trying to muster the courage, if you will, to talk to strangers in suits and ties and things like that. So that's what I think the typical world thinks of networking. Carl, you have anything to add on this conception of networking?
Yeah, no, Adam, you hit the nail on the head there. I still remember, again, probably about freshman year of college, when I was first really introduced to the term of networking, right? And career development office was like, hey, we got a job fair coming up. It'd be great networking for you. You should definitely go meet as many people as you can. And I thought, okay, great, whatever. And then I showed up and I froze. I mean, and I'm an outgoing, extroverted individual. And I remember showing up to this job fair and just being like, what am I doing? How do I talk to someone? Everyone's 20 years older than me. What do I have to offer here? And so that is part of the reason why my business partner and I started the Art of Successful Networking, right? As Google defines networking, it is the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional and social context. We focus on the second half of that definition, right? Developing personal or professional and social contacts. So if you can learn, and Adam, if you go to the next slide here, right? If you can understand that networking isn't just attending certain events, right? But it's simply just relationship building, helping others, right? I mean, you've been doing it since you made your first friend when you were 4 years old, right? So, I think the biggest thing that Adam and I want to portray to you today is truly what the understanding of networking is. And again, it's not just going to an event with a bunch of people that you don't know. It's having a cup of coffee. It's helping someone with studying for an exam. I mean, truly, whatever you do can be networking. So yeah, it's a powerful strategy. It's a powerful tool to have in your arsenal. And if you can do it properly, you can really truly make something of your career.
Absolutely. And just making sure that, you're equipping yourself with the strategies and tactics of making it less like that typical definition and more where you're cultivating these personal relationships, as Carl stated. So, of course, you think about what are the incentives of networking? Why, should we network? We've already said, okay, to build relationships. Really the ability to help others if you are good at networking and you get good at networking and you're trying to get good at networking, you should really be in the focus and mindset of, if I help someone else out, they're going to also help me out, almost like a symbiotic relationship between the two. You know, you want to get away from, as you'll see, you want to get away from information dumping on who you are and what you do and what you're looking for. That stuff can certainly come, but initially you really want to focus on opening opportunities by way of helping each other out and getting to know each other and building those relationships. Those will then lead to deals, more money, long-term relationships, long-term opportunities, you know, and so on. So, you know, Carl, what do you see there as why we should?
I mean, Adam, I think you stated it perfectly, right? With the long-term thinking, the long-term relationships, you know, you're sitting 2 desks down from your college roommate, right? So you start a new role, a new job at a new company, and all of a sudden you have an ally, right? And, you know, maybe that doesn't mean you're, you know, landing new clients and new business deals from them, but you can rely on your network then to introduce you to other coworkers and build those relationships with your employees. I mean, same goes for when you're in college, right? If your roommate or your best friend knows someone that you don't know, you know, go grab a coffee, go hang out, go play FIFA, go do something together, right? And again, if you can start to realize that this networking is a long-term strategy, a long-term play, then eventually you'll get to a point where people are coming to you, right? They're asking you to go golf. They're asking you to go to Sabres games and Bills games and do all these fun things. And it truly can become something that is quite enjoyable. And I like to say all the time that, you know, you can network by doing, you know, anything. You know, if you're going to the movies with someone, if you're having a meal with someone, if you're, you know, having a meeting with someone in your day-to-day work, that is networking. It's something that you can, you know, talk about down the road, whatever the case may be. So again, these are just a few of the reasons why we should network, but you know, if we haven't drilled that point home yet, there are many reasons why you should and why you can't network.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just, you should never be too proud or have your horse blinders on too much to say to yourself internally, you know, I don't need to network with that person. You never know what's behind somebody, you know, you never know what connections that they have. Okay. I used to go to lunch with a guy that wasn't even a direct sales relationship with me. He would just know everybody in the construction industry. So I could stand to have a 30 to an hour lunch with this guy because he's going to give me 6 connections that I didn't have before, and vice versa. You know, you help each other out, but you shouldn't be afraid to network with your neighbors, knowing what they do, knowing what their connections are. You shouldn't be afraid to talk to and get the behind the scenes story of who people are in terms of your coworkers, your supervisors. You don't know what connections that they have, students and peers, coaches, teachers. So anybody is fair game in your network of school, work, family, neighbors. Everybody is fair game to be in your network, and you should not exclude anybody out of that. There's always a worthy conversation. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Adam, it reminds me of a book that I read in college called A Curious Life or Curious Mind, The Secret to a Bigger Life by Brian Grazer, who was and still is a Hollywood movie producer. And in there, he talks about how he built up his network, right? And he built it up by asking literally anybody, doctors, firefighters, lawyers, neighbors, friends, strangers, whoever, for what he calls his curiosity meetings, right? Where he can go in and without making it seem so formal, almost doing a discovery interview. who they are, what they do, how they, do what they do. And, the way I'm relating it here, right? From what I hear, there's a journalism major, here in the audience. If you're getting into journalism, right, you want to have contacts with everybody in every industry, right? Because even if you're writing on real estate deals, or even if you're writing on, the tech space or political, world or business or whatever the case may be, everybody could be a source. Everybody could be a tap into a new article or a new segment or a new industry. So, if you're a lawyer, right, you don't want to just meet with other lawyers. You don't want to just meet with judges or, whoever, right? You want to meet with anybody and everybody. And so it's tough to say, oh, well, who should you be networking with? Because truthfully, the answer is everyone. Now, granted, there are certain times and certain people that you want to specifically meet with, and there are ways to get, in front of somebody. But it all comes from, who you are and what you want to accomplish. So again, to reiterate what Adam said, it's not just a certain group of people, and you can't be too proud to say, oh, well, I don't need to know them, or, I don't, they're below me in my job. I shouldn't get to know them. Those are often some of the most important people to know. So yeah, truthfully, it could be anybody.
Absolutely. And things are, I think truly, Carl and everybody here, things are getting better and even more fun nowadays with the choices of where do people network. Certainly school and educational events, sports events, social events, recreational events. But we're talking, and even just the picture there, we're talking a skeet and track shootout. We're talking
Right.
curling. We're talking zip lining. We're talking backyard parties nowadays. This is not the networking of your moms and dads that you had to suit up, if you will, with your tie and everything, and go to a stuffy sit down dinner. Things are a lot more open, a lot more informal nowadays, and so this is just to go to show you that there's a lot of choices out there. I would just recommend, try out all of these types of formats, of course, but as you try out these types of formats, you get a sense of the ones that are really your style. Don't be afraid to try new things, but also be focused on what your style is as well. That way you can focus your time and energy to the things and the types of events that are really going to make you a productive networker. So that's what I would say in terms of this, touching on the different options that we have here.
And one thing to add to that, if you want to take it to the next level, we'll say, host this event yourself, right? Just a couple weeks ago, I hosted a few buddies to go paintballing on the east side of Buffalo. I haven't been paintballing in a decade. Neither have my buddy who came with me, but we went to this paintballing field. We got to know the owners a little bit. We ended up going with some guys in the UB frat, had a blast. But it's one of those things where now I have this experience in paintballing that I can talk about and relate to other people with. Even just, showing some enthusiasm for doing something new. It kind of shows a little bit about yourself, right? But it goes into how do you network, right? And having that authenticity, to be who you are and do what you want to do. You'll find that you can connect, right, personally on many different levels with many different people. So again, Adam makes a great point where it's not just getting dressed up in a suit or a nice dress or whatever the case may be and going to some event. It's, getting outside of office, going to do something fun, going on a hike, going, to a movie. I mean, truly, whatever you like to do, you can find a way to network that way. And all it takes is, again, right, some proper eye contact, some strong handshakes, right? Simple little things that you can do that can immediately build some trust and rapport with someone else. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, right, we have some enthusiasm behind us. We really enjoy meeting new people, strengthening relationships. And a lot of the times that comes from, just taking the initiative to reach out to someone new, to meet that person for the first time. Even look how Adam and I met. Adam reached out to me, we grabbed coffee, and now here we are.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, and I want to hit on, the authenticity part that Carl did here. I'll tell you what, one of the things, I used to be a pretty shy guy, okay, when I was a kid growing up, all right, and I only have gotten to the level or point that I have in my life to be comfortable with myself and other people because of, just kind of growing over time and learning how to do some of this stuff. But I got to the point in my networking journey and in building relationships where I stopped trying to measure up to those people in the room that were, the 30-year veterans, the experts in the field. Yeah, those folks probably know and make more money than I do, but I never kind of shied away to just being myself. A lot of times in your early networking journey, you always kind of feel that pull and that pressure to pretend to elevate yourself, to try to be something you're not. And I would say some of those really important influencers and potential mentors that are out there can see right through you. They really can. So you always want to make sure that you're being yourself, that you're as authentic as possible. And that's really what's going to carry the day, because the best relationships that I have built are ones that are built off of authenticity. If I try to measure myself up to someone else, it's not going to be as productive there. So you really want to be yourself and go from there. So that authenticity, Mark, I really do want to hit home on, because that's been a part of my personal journey as I've developed my my competency on how to do this stuff. So.
And Adam, again, you make a great point with, don't try and be someone that you're not, right? I remember back to my early collegiate career when, I'm reaching out, I'm taking the chance, I'm taking the risk to meet with some professionals who have been in their industry, been in their roles for, 10, 20, 30 years, right? So I'm the 20-year-old college student with no real, work experience. And I'm trying to meet and talk and relate to these, guys and gals who are, 50 years old, who have been doing their job and role in their industry for their entire life. How do you connect with them? I personally like to research a person, right? So if I knew I was meeting with Jim Smith for a coffee, I would go on his LinkedIn, I would Google his name, I'd go to his company's website, whatever, and I'd just try and figure out some things about him. If there's articles where he went to school, maybe I find his Facebook profile or Instagram profile and see that, he went to a soccer game, he really likes soccer. I play soccer, let's talk about soccer. And once you start to make it less about the work, less about what you do, you can really start to connect with someone again on that more personal level. You talk about travel, you talk about music, you talk about what you enjoy to do, and then you'll find it that you can easily be your authentic self, and build that relationship with someone who is older, maybe wiser, more experienced than
you. Yeah, and Carl, not only authenticity, but as you kind of starting to alluding to, almost like your pre-networking homework, if you will. All right. Now, just as we prep for an exam or prep for an interview, you want to also do some light networking prep when you're going into an event. Now, some of these events, as we will see with the different formats, some of them you don't really have to do that with, and some of them you do more intensely. But it's always a good idea, if you can do it, get a hold of the guest list, get a hold of the pre-attendees networking list, and find out who's going, who sparks your curiosity from maybe someone or someone that you don't know that's from a company or industry that you want to talk to, and start doing some very light research before you go into the event on who they are. You could be sitting in the car before the event, and just a real quick LinkedIn view with some details in mind and some idea that you want to go in and meet that person, you know? So as we will talk about soon, you know, that pre-networking homework doesn't have to be a heavy lift, is also extremely important. But when you go into these networking events and you get out of your car and you go into the door, go through the door, especially when you're networking for the first time, you're going to have some anxiety. Okay. You're going to, you know, who should I meet? Who do I talk to? Who's here? Where do I go to check in? What's the format? You know, all these things can bring anxiety. So how do you cut that anxiety off as much as possible? Because you're going to have it no matter what. But what I would say is that it kind of goes back to that. Okay, let's see that guest list. Can I find out who's going before I go to the event? Is there a friend or close contact that suggested that you go to the event in the first place? Maybe saying, hey, Carl, I'll see you at that event Thursday night. All right. Can you make sure that you introduce me to someone when we get into the door? Something like that. Once again, knowing, is it a seminar, a mixer, a dinner? Always good to know the format, because a dinner, you're going to be placed with a collection of people where you don't really have to maybe break the ice that much. Seminar, more of an educational event, you have to know when and where to kind of network. So knowing your format, knowing the meet a friend close contact there kind of in lines also with the mentor. I see a lot of folks at networking events, especially young people nowadays, come with a mentor or a teacher or somebody like that. That's very important too. You're going to cut your anxiety level off because you're with someone that shares what your goals are and wants to see you succeed. So following their lead, and after you follow their lead for a period, don't be afraid to break off and start having your own conversations once you get comfortable within yourself. You will also see examples of people networking almost in packs, sometimes in groups. My opinion, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, Carl, I think you should start light with some one-to-one first before you start getting into the larger networking groups. However, if someone introduces you and brings you into a larger networking group, that's a good opportunity for you to experience around standing roundtable networking, if you will, and kind of have a little bit more fun with that. And those can be enjoyable as well. And I'll just finish this part by saying, you know, I always, especially in my early days, I would always be nervous at these networking events. What was the number one thing to remove the nerves and remove the anxiety? Just do it. The more you did it, the more experience you had, the better you could handle anxiety and nerves. And, you know, I used to go to graduate school and do a presentation in front of some Supreme Court justices. And let me tell you, my hands and my legs were shaking so bad that when I stopped my hands from shaking, my legs started to shake in response from stopping my hands from shaking. The next time I gave the presentation, I wasn't doing that anymore. So make sure, you're gonna have to throw yourself into the fire sometimes and just say the heck with it. I'm gonna go into the situation, and that's how you're really gonna, I think, overcome some of this anxiety. So, and don't sit at the cocktail table. Go to an event, don't sit at the cocktail table by yourself with a thing of tater tots and just sit there for 20 minutes. Please don't do that. So those are my tips on the anxiety part. Carl, what do you got?
Yeah, the only other thing I want to add to this is you won't be the only one who feels some sort of anxieties or worries. I mean, as Adam said, right, he might still have a few anxieties. I certainly do, right? So we are, I would consider, you know, higher level networkers who have been doing this for years and years and years, and we still feel those anxieties and those nervous shakes a little bit. So don't feel like, oh man, I'm really nervous, I'm really worried, I'm really anxious, you know, to go to this event. It's like there are so many other people who are going to be there feeling the same way. So again, the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. But you're not the only one who feels the way you do, and I promise you that's the case at every event that you'll ever go to.
Just to step in for a second because we are at 11:30 right now. I just wanted to say to anyone that's on, we're going until 11:45 for the session. So you guys are giving some great material. If anyone has questions, you can either unmute yourself or feel free to type into the chat. Anything that you're curious about. I know for sure, as you both have stated, anxiety is such a huge thing. And even after like public speaking and going to countless networking events, I still, as I'm driving up, I'm like, I don't really want to do this. Like, what's my first conversation going to be like? What if I say something weird? What if I don't know anyone? All of those fears of just like being a human being, right? So I just wanted to ask, let's say you walk into an event, you don't know anyone. You come in, you get to the registration table, you sign in, you look around, like what would you recommend if you're not really an experienced networker? What's the first thing that you would do?
Adam, I can take this. I was told a long time ago that the easiest way to meet someone is to offer up your hand. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. Like it's not easy to just go up to someone and say, "Hi, I'm Carl. Nice to meet you. What's your name?" But the moment you do that, you get someone's name, you shake their hand. Personally, I like to have a few kind of, questions that I always kind of have in the back of my mind that kind of gets the conversation started. But the easiest way to meet someone is to just go up and do it. If you're waiting for someone to come up to you, it's going to be really tough to do it. And this isn't necessarily saying that you got to go into, a group of people. There's 4 people already talking, having a good time, smiling and laughing, whatever. Go find someone else. Even if you're at the registration desk, right? Maybe they're checking in alone as well. Look over to them, offer your hand, say, "Hi, I'm Carl. Nice to meet you," and go on from there. Maybe you go grab a drink together, you grab, some of the snacks together, whatever the case may be, but immediately you have someone. And, if they know someone at the event already, then, they might introduce you immediately. If they don't, then you guys are together, right? So, again, it may seem insensitive to say, but the easiest way is just rip off the Band-Aid, offer out your hand, offer your name, and say, "Hi, nice to meet you. What's your name?"
Yeah, agreed. And everything Carl's saying is spot on. And I would say the same thing. That registration table interaction can be a nice little transition for you, saying, "Hey, how you doing?" right at the registration table. And then you walk together. You walk together to get, if you're sitting down or if you're standing up and getting a drink somewhere, or if you're going to get some food somewhere, you walk together and you start developing that conversation from the registration table. And then as you're moving into the event, there's also scenarios where, guess what? You're the lone person coming into the networking event. You're by yourself. Guess what? There's someone else that's a lone person by themselves too. So they feel just as like, "Hey, I'm looking to meet someone too. So how'd you get into this event? How'd you hear about it?" Just something like that, and having that discussion. So those are some different ways that you can go into that scenario that Lindsay spoke about.
Yeah, Adam, that's like an amazing point. And every single person that is at the networking event, it doesn't matter how advanced they are in their career. It doesn't matter how much money they make. It doesn't matter how many, they could know almost every single person in the room. The primary reason we're all there is to meet people. That's why you go to a networking event. So as uncomfortable as we might feel, or whatever comes up, just remember every single person is there for the same reason.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We of course have our best practices up here on the screen, but Lindsay or any of the other attendees at this point, I know there's a few more details and things we have to go over. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
We encourage questions, so please ask away.
Not in the chat at the moment. I think everyone knows that they can type into the chat if they would like to. but I
It's
don't.
also a good time
any-
for you to offer up your name and meet us. So you can
Yeah, right.
start putting networking into practice right now, everyone.
Well, one of the best practices, and I used to actually run a virtual networking event during the pandemic, once a month on a Friday with about 50 people. And I say, everyone put your name, your email, title, company in the chat. So if you guys want to do that right now, that would be great. That way we all connect. And what we can do is then export that chat and get everybody's details and then share them. Or, you can do all that. So just to give you an example, I'll put my email here for you guys so that you have it. And I will say my name, my title. More and more virtual networking now than ever. So you might as well, do it right. Okay. So I'll just say Foss of CannonDesign. And that is, quite honestly, I put my phone number. People call me all the time. So I'm just doing it this way but normally I throw my phone number in there, whatever you guys need. Put it up there. And even if you get really good at virtual networking, not only put your first, last name, email, title, company, also put who you're looking to talk to, who you're looking to network with. Those are some things that can go into the chat feature as well. So that kind of goes into the virtual networking bucket of best practices, is to share that information right into the chat there. And Catherine, you did a great job there on that side. So, good example there from Damon.
And again, just like, if you're at an event, you're trying to meet someone, and I say that the easiest way to meet someone is to offer up your hand. Virtually, it's the same way, right? The easiest way to get someone else's information is to offer up yours. So the moment you start, look how quickly everybody's sending their names and emails. If you guys aren't emailing everybody on this list right now, in the next day or two, just to say, hi, nice to meet you, thank you so much, whatever the case may be. It's almost like a waste of an opportunity, right? And this goes for, especially when I was in college, we would have guest lecturers or speakers or whoever who would come in, professors would invite people in. I always seemed to be the only one, maybe a couple, who after the class would go up, introduce myself, shake their hand, say, thank you so much for coming to present. And I think the perfect example of this was when I was in grad school. One of my classes, a developer in Boulder, Colorado, came up, talked about a project he's got going on, talked about how he likes surfing and golfing and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, this guy's really interesting, younger guy. We ended up, grabbing coffee. A week or two later, we played golf. Probably about a month or two later, stayed in contact. I actually had the opportunity, again, through networking, to bring together a developer and this guy on a potential project in Mexico. Ended up flying down to Mexico, trying to, broker this deal with the two of them. And at one point, I'm standing there on the beach in this remote area of Mexico with Charles Schwab's son, this developer, these other people. And I'm like, how did I get here? Like, what is going on? And truthfully, I swear on my life, it was simply because I went up to this guy after class, introduced myself, and took him out for coffee the next day. And you never know when a connection is going to need you, when you're going to need them. But if you can stay in contact, offer up coffee, be curious in them, you'll never know where it might lead you. It might lead to a job, it might lead to a business deal, it might lead to, anything. But the easiest way to network is to take initiative and offer up your hand, offer up your name. So always be sure that you're doing that.
Yeah, and I will say this: you show up at the networking event, you have great conversations, you exchange business cards. My opinion, one of the most important parts of networking is the follow-up, the email. And please don't do a blind CC mass email to all the people that you met with. at the networking event. Personalize your emails, try to remember the conversations that you had, and do personalized emails. You met 12 people at the networking event, then you do 12 emails. And you in your email, you say, this is the next step. This is what we're going to do, or this is what I want to do. What's your availability like over the next 2 weeks? You're better for mornings, or you're better for afternoons, for coffee, for lunch, whatever. So make sure you do that. That is like mandatory networking 101. If you are not emailing, phone calling folks the day after, if it takes you 3 days to do that, that's too long. It should take you 1 to 2 days to be able to do this stuff. And if you miss the boat on those 2 days, you've missed the boat. You've gone to a networking event, you spent gas money, you spent money going to the networking event, and it can turn out to all be for nothing if you do not do that networking follow-up. So very important that you do that. And sometimes to help you out, if you can't remember names or anything like that, couple things: get a post-event attendees list if you can. Oftentimes in the networking event, very good to remember names by repeating it in your head 3 times. So these are all good best practices that are listed here that you can kind of, you should keep in mind when you're doing this, doing these things. Anything to add on that, Carl?
I do. I really like how you mentioned the personalizing the follow-up. It's one thing to say their name, right? That's almost a standard practice. But if you can reference, maybe their daughter that they talked about, or the vacation that they're about to go on, or what they did last weekend, something that they specifically mentioned, that will help them trigger their memory, right? Remember your face a little bit more. And the easiest way to remember those conversations is to take notes. Like if you're having the conversation with someone at an event standing up, like you're probably not going to take it, out your notebook or out your phone and take the note right then. But maybe the conversation ends, go walk away for a hot second, either write down on their business card that you just got. So always keep a pen with you, open up the notes phone on your app, write their name, maybe even what they were wearing to jog your memory. And 1 or 2 things that they specifically mentioned, so that when you do follow up with them, you say, hey, Carrie, thank you so much for meeting with me. It was great to have the conversation. Good luck at your son's soccer game this weekend. I hope they win. Hopefully we can grab coffee soon, right? Like it's a few sentences, it's quick, it's brief, it's easy. There's something to follow up on. But the moment you can reference something specific that was talked about in the conversation, it can go a very, very, very long way.
Absolutely. And, these other best practices are on here, especially the what not to do's and everything. Keep those in mind as well. It's always about flow. Networking is about flow, and you want it to be natural. You don't want to disrupt the flow of your own networking and others networking as well. One of the things that I think that helps networking flow, to be honest with you, and we alluded to it before, is some of the different networking trends that are out there. Virtual networking, which has become more prevalent nowadays. Networking, honestly, how many times I know, Carl, you're wearing a tie, but there's so many networking events now and everybody wearing no ties. Ties are dead right now. It's kind of crazy. So you're not going to see a lot of ties. You're going to see a lot more people in, just different industries, different jobs, different roles, actual segmented icebreaker activities to get people, so that you get connected and mixed in with people. I've seen people get grouped in by personality types, work styles. There's been VIP areas where if you pay an extra cost, you can go get further networking or do a particular activity with a group of people. And nowadays, there's a lot more venues. Same thing with weddings. There's more wedding venues nowadays. There's more event networking venues nowadays. There's more breweries nowadays, especially in Buffalo. So, you'll see a lot of different things that are out there. And business cards now being replaced or at least supplemented by electronic business cards. Those are some of the networking trends that I see. Anything else that, Carl, you see out there that's a new trend that I didn't mention?
No, I think this is a pretty good list of the networking trends. I think, following up with what we said earlier, though, again, I think a networking trend that I really like to follow is that networking doesn't have to be very rigid. Again, right? I enjoy golfing. I enjoy playing squash. I enjoy being outside. I enjoy eating food, right? So like that is how I best network. And oftentimes I'm inviting people to go do that. Which again goes to a help first mentality sometimes. So find what you love to do and do it. If it's video games, if it's music, if it's eating, whatever the case may be, find other people who enjoy doing that and then do it.
I love it. Well, I want to halt right here because I want to be conscious of everyone's time. We are also going to announce the gift card winner of today's session. We're going to send along this amazing presentation. Thank you both for doing this. If anyone has a last minute question, please feel free to share it. And we'll of course send along all of this information. Carl and Adam, I think you both maybe put your email address in here. So if there's any specific questions or if you want to grab coffee, with me, I am more than happy to do so as well. There's so much good stuff around networking. Like, obviously we're in this networking group, but we could talk about this for days because I think every single one of us has incredible stories of, I happened upon this person, they led me to this person, that led me to this opportunity. I was able to give back in this way. And it's just this really incredible thing. So it's amazing.
Lindsay doesn't seem like she gets any anxiety over networking.
I do, I swear. I really do. It's a mask.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, everybody. We really appreciate your time. And, I think, I'll slightly speak for you here, Carl. If you need to go out to coffee or lunch with us, have a conversation, just talk and make further connections, more than happy to do that. I personally love going to a Public Espresso, Hotel Lafayette. That's my favorite spot to go to. Good coffee, good donuts. Just, I love
Where we met.
Yeah, that's where we met. So that's my go-to place. So if anyone wants me to buy them some coffee and some donuts, more than happy to do that for them and have a nice productive discussion and go from there. But we'll love to further connect with you guys and go from there.
Yeah, guys, I don't know if you heard that, but Adam's offering to buy you coffee and food. So go do that.
There's a bribe involved. I love it.
Exactly.
So Jean, do we have our gift card winner?
Yes, David won. So David, I will reach out to you with more information. Congratulations.
And
Congratulations.
yay. And to all of our other students who are attending, if you stay on, this is going to be the same link for the rest of any of our other sessions. So you can either stay on, hop off really quick. The next one starts promptly at noon, building your brand. So that's exciting. And then when you're on, you get a chance to win another gift card. So as long as you're present and we see your name, we're going to pop it into that random thing and maybe you'll win. So anything else, Jean, before we wrap up for the session?
No, I'm glad everyone was able to join us today. I will save the chat and we will also forward you the slide presentation because I know Carl and Adam didn't get all the way through the last couple. So we'll send those off. And because we're also recording this will be on our website. So if you have any questions, please reach out to any of us at any time. We're all here to help you and help you make connections. That's what we're here for.
I love it. Thank you, everyone. And then Jennifer will be up next at noon.
Awesome. Bye, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you,
Adam.
Adam.
Thank you.
So we'll take a pause, take a bio